All right, guys. So this type of headphone that we're going to talk about today, I don't cover as much as I would like. And the pair that we're going to check out is the Sendy Audio Apollo Pro. And essentially what these are is an open back headphone that is using 78mm planar magnetic drivers, and it has an 800 nanometer thick diaphragm, which is very fast, which definitely has a huge effect when it comes to the sound, obviously, which we'll talk about that a little bit later. Now, these headphones do come in retailing at $450, so it's not a cheap headphone, but considering that it's an open back planar and it has a pretty premium build to it, it is definitely going to appeal to quite a bit of people. Now, the first thing, as far as the actual look and the design, they are using a metal frame. It does look like it has kind of like the suspension style headband, and that part is actually made of lamb leather. The wood that's on here, which is actually natural wood, it is a zebra wood, and I actually am a huge fan of like the sunburst metal grill that they use on the outside. Now, again, keep in mind this is an open back, so everything that you listen to is just going to be able to be heard by people around you just about as much as what you're hearing on the inside. Now, the ear pads they're using, it is actually velvet on the part that's touching your skin. It is breathable, so it's one of those that doesn't get as hot as like normal pleather or leather ear pads. And I actually like the angle that they took with these because it kind of covers a lot more ground. It is a very light headphone, so although it does look a little big, it doesn't feel big on your head. It doesn't have like a tight clamp to it. I don't have any issue thinking it's going to move around like if I'm turning my head real quick. So again, pretty premium build on these overall, and I actually, again, really like the design. A lot of larger planar style headphones are just large. I mean, they're like obnoxiously large. They have like these huge metal frames that stick out way too far, and I think this one's pretty low profile for the most part. Now, as far as the cable they've included, it is a pretty thick braided cable. It is a silver plated copper cable, and it has dual 3.5mm plugins that actually go into the headphones themselves. And then the connection on the end that you plug into whatever device you're using, by default is a 4.4mm balance plug-in, but it does come with a 3.5mm adapter, and it also comes with a 1/4-inch adapter. But the 3.5mm, I don't like the way that they did the adapter because it also has an extension of the braided cable, and it just kind of looks obnoxious. I like the ones where it kind of twist off and you can change like just the jack itself. I think this is just adding more to the cable. Just not a huge fan of that part, but it is a premium cable. They also include a little pouch that's like a hemp pouch. That way you can kind of keep all the cables in there. And then the case that they've included is a leather case. It is a super nice case, but I couldn't help but, like, when I first saw it, just by the way that the design is on the bottom, it looks like a minion's ass. There's no way around that. Just seeing that crack right there, and the size of this thing overall, that was basically the first thought that I had with these. Now, as far as using these with an amp, I'll actually say these are pretty easy to drive overall, and actually pretty easy to get some punch in the low end, some pretty good mids and some pretty good highs without an amp, but having an amp with these just brings out everything. But it's easy to drive because it does have an impedance level of only 27 ohms with a sensitivity level of only 93 decibels. So never an issue just plugging straight into a device, getting some decent volume. But again, I'm going to recommend an amp just because it just boosts things that much more. And so now with that, we can go ahead and just kind of get into the sound with these. And to easily describe the characteristic of these is they're a fast headphone. They can keep up, especially with the double bass of the drums when it comes to metal. If you listen to genres where there's a lot going on, everything's very well separated. It doesn't feel like this just cluttered mess, but it doesn't lack low end. It's not one of those that feels like because it's trying to be fast, it's pulling back on the bass so that you're not getting sub bass and things that normally don't make a headphone feel fast. It does have the typical characteristic of a planar where I do feel like there is some warmth to the overall sound, but in my opinion, this just kind of helps things sound natural. It doesn't sound artificial. Now, I am going to say if you are a bass head and you're just looking for like subwoofer type bass, that is not what this is going to give you, but it is also not flat or neutral. So if you're somebody that doesn't like the low end colored at all, you might not like this either. This one is definitely boosting some things to make it sound fun. The mids have like a slight forward approach so that vocalists and guitar tones and all kind of stands out from the rest of the mix. And the treble on these have a lot of detail, but do not come close to that point of being bright or harsh. So there's nothing that's overly done on any spectrum of these headphones, but it's pushed up just enough to make them fun, not make them like a boring style headphone. And the Soundstage and the sound imaging, it's not as open as a lot of other open back headphones that I've tested. Again, I don't know if it's because of the slightly dynamic approach that they're taking and actually giving these some thump. It gives you a little bit more isolation. It still makes you feel like you're in a large room. It just doesn't have like that concert hall style vibe to it. And it does an excellent job of being able to tell where different sounds are coming from. In fact, I loved using these with gaming because everything is pulled out so well and the directional audio is just done so well in these. So my overall opinion is this. Obviously, the $450 is going to scare away most just average consumers. And a lot of average consumers aren't really looking at these type of headphones anyway. But the build quality, the materials that they've used, the sound quality that you're getting, I absolutely think they're worth the $450 price tag because I found myself using them for a bunch of different things. They're good for music. They're good for movies. They're good for gaming. It's not just something that's good at one thing. It does not have a mic, so obviously it's, if you're somebody that's gaming online, you're going to need an external mic for that. But I don't do a lot of online gaming, so it just fit all of my needs, and I've just enjoyed using them pretty much for everything. So it makes it an easy recommendation. If you are interested in checking these out, I will have them linked in the description. But guys, that wraps up my video on the Sendy Audio Apollo Pro. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Thank you so much for checking out all the other videos. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for more.